Hi everybody, it is Hope Yoder and I'm here on location doing an event, and I just wanted to show you something fun with Embellish Maker software. Embellish Maker is manufactured and distributed by R&K Distributing, and I am on RNK-Embellish's website, and when you navigate around, I'm on the Embroidery Hope Yoder CD library, and I'm going to be working with this Wine With Me embroidery collection. And so let me find the design that I'll be working with here. This little wine tag is created to hang over a bottle and to stitch on R&K Stitch and Shape. So let's go right to the design to show you how to do it. And there's just a couple little things I want to show you to look for in any applique designs that you may want to be converting. The first thing we're going to do is we're going to open a design, and I happen to have the wine tag applique right here, and I want to talk about this convert to outlines. Now normally I would never ever open a design with convert to outlines checked, and the reason for that is it's kind of convert to outlines is going to break apart anybody's design even if it wasn't created in Embellish Maker. And it's kind of like a design hack. So you can release the compound path or break it apart or change it into outlines. And really in layman's term, what that means is it's going to make changes to the design. It's going to open it up, and sometimes funky things happen to designs when you convert to outlines because you're essentially hacking the file. So you have to be careful. So normally if I'm going to rearrange things or add multiple designs or add text, I'm never going to open with convert to outlines checked. But in this case, on the tag, I want to change the background of the tag to some fun Mylar. And in order to do that, I'm going to put a check mark into convert to outlines. And I'm going to open the tag up. And as this design is opening, there's lots of components to it. I want to just show you what it looks like in 3D. And here I have a placement line, a tack down, a zigzag, and then all the pretty stitches. And so when I open the last color, can you see all of those different elements? It's broken it apart, converted it to outlines, and all of these elements are now visible inside of the last color. So let me go to a brand new page, and let's open this without converting to outline. So I'm going to select the wine tag. Notice how the check mark stays there. Until you close down the program, it's going to stay with whatever you did last. So I'm going to pay attention to this, and I'm going to deselect convert to outlines. So if I wanted to add someone's name or the brand of the wine or welcome to the neighborhood, anything like that, I'm not going to convert to outlines. So I'm just going to open it like I normally would, and let me show you the difference. First of all, did you notice how quicker, how much faster this opened than the other one? And that's because the software is not hacking the design and converting every image into an outline tracing around it. Now, when I look at color 4, it's just one object when I expand it. And if we go back to the one that I did previously where I converted to outlines, let me right click and left click on collapse all and move my mouse. Now, when I open color 4, you can see all of those elements. So that's the difference. All right, so I'm going to close this out, and I'm going to show you something funky is going to happen when I convert to Mylar. And so first of all, let me keep my tool cabinet clean, and I'm going to expand the convert tab. And this little Mylar is what I want to use, this tool. Now notice it's not grayed, it's grayed out. It doesn't work because I don't have anything selected over in the sequence window. So I'm going to select the placement line and turn it into Mylar. And if you look real close, let's zoom in, you can see that I have the outside and the inside of the hole selected. All right, and if we now convert this to Mylar, something that I don't expect is going to happen because I didn't really look at the design close enough, and this may have happened to you in the past. So watch this. Now, when I look at this, I have a problem because I don't want Mylar to go over the hole. I need that hole open because it's supposed to hang over a wine bottle. So the undo is up top. I'm going to undo that. And now let's look at the design because the software is doing exactly what we want it to do, but I didn't notice something. When I expand this placement line, it's actually two objects because it's broken it apart. Now let me go to the one that we didn't convert to outlines and expand that, and it's one object. And that's what I want this to look like. So you've got to kind of look at your artwork, and we have two separate objects, but I need to combine them or join them together as one. And when I do that, then the software will know not to put Mylar in the center of the hole. So now I'm going to come down to my Transform tab, and I'm going to open that. And here is the join selected paths. So that's going to kind of merge them together and create one object. So watch what happens in my sequence window when I select join. Now it looks just like the other element you can see there. So now that I have joined those under the Transform tab, let's see what happens when I add the Mylar Convert tab. Beautiful. I love this. Now, a couple things about this. Got to look at the design. It gave me a placement line. It gave me a tack down. It gave me Mylar, and then it gave me a satin stitch. And I don't really want all of that because I do have a satin stitch on this last one. So that's going to create a lot of bulk. So when color 1, the Mylar, is selected, I can move my mouse over here and I can right click, and then I'm going to choose to break up the Mylar so it's no longer all inside of color 1. Now when I break anything apart, it's going to automatically move it to the bottom of the sequence window. Watch this. So now it's moved it down, and I have 1, 2, 3, 4 steps. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to delete that satin stitch because I know I don't want it. So I'm going to select it, and then on my keyboard, I'm going to choose delete. So now I've gotten rid of the satin stitch. And now if you look at this, we kind of have a little problem because when I broke it apart, it threw it to the bottom of the sequence window. And I can just simply select it and drag it wherever I want. But I also had this placement line here that was created from the original design. So I'm going to keep that placement line, or I could delete that one. It doesn't matter, but I'm just going to delete this duplicate placement line by selecting it and then delete on my keyboard. Now let's go down to the bottom left and choose slow redraw. And this is going to be like a stitch simulator, and I can start it by doing this. Now it's going to stitch the placement line. Perfect. That's exactly what I want. But it comes into the zigzag stitch, so I know I need to, let me stop this for a moment. I know I need to move this up so it's in the second place. And I'm just left clicking on my mouse and dragging it up. So let's see what happens now when I continue the slow redraw, or I start it again. So I'm going to do my placement line on my stabilizer, and that tells me where to lay the stitch and shape. And stitch and shape is going to give it a lot of stability. All right, so that's perfect. And then when I come back, let's speed this up. Placement line, then I'm going to lay my fabric down. All right, and so we've got that. Now, with this, the Mylar is in the wrong place. So I want to bring the Mylar by just dragging it up here. And I drug it too far, so no problem. Here's a little tip for you. I can select this color 3, and I can right click, and I can just say move to the first place or just move up. That way if my hands aren't real steady or I'm not working with a mouse, now I have the placement line is color 1, the tack down line is color 2, and after that tack down line, I'm also going to lay my Mylar, my iridescent Mylar from Embellish, and then it's going to give me all of the Mylar stitches. Perfect. So again, color 1 is going to be placement on stabilizer only, After that, I'm going to lay my stitch and shape or my fabric, and I'll also lay a sheet of Mylar so it tacks it down for me. And then I don't remove the excess Mylar. On color 3, it's going to do the Mylar trapping stitches. And on this design, color 4 is a zigzag, so that if you were using stitch and shape, it's pretty thick and that gives you a trim line. And then this last color is going to be all those beautiful fill stitches. So let me change this last color to a grape. And so I'm just going to select it. And when I make a change, it expands everything. I don't really need to see all that. So I can right click inside of the sequence view, left click and move my mouse. And that looks really nice. So depending on what color thread I'm going to be using, that's the look that I'm going to get with the Mylar. So let me kind of click off here and let's see what that looks like. Ooh, I like that. Now I might want to add a gift or a sentiment text. So let's choose text. First of all, let me tidy up my desk, and I'm going to select the text tool, and then I'm going to left click in the workspace area to generate text. And when that happens, let's go and change the text. So I'm going to collapse everything and move my mouse, and it kind of joined that text into the last color. So what I'm going to do is scroll to the bottom, and I'm going to just change the text to something that's a different color. And that way I can have it at the bottom, easy to work with. All right. And now when I'm working with this, first of all, it's too big, and I don't want it to say my text. I want it to say, how about thank you? So let's do thank and you, and I can use true type font if I want to, or I can use built-in font. So let's just kind of scroll down and see what happens. That Evelyn font, this is the fun part. Let's go to Harmony. Okay, I like that. Now if I hover my mouse over the text, it's going to show me what characters are available, and then also the minimum and maximum height. So the minimum height is 0.59. So I'm going to change that to go as small as it'll allow me. And let's click on apply, and let's see what happens. And hey, I like that. So I am actually going to drag this over in here. And if you can see what happens, I've got all these editing nodes. I don't want to really edit anything right now. So I'm going to click on the select tool. But there is a lot of space between those two words. So the line spacing is at 25%. Let's see what happens if I change it to 10 and then click on apply. All right, that looks better. So let's just click on 5 now, or choose 5 for the line spacing, and then I'll click apply. And I don't really get too much different, so let's just click on 1, or let's type in 1 rather, and see what happens. That's better. Let's see if I can rotate this. Now I have Craft and Cut installed on my computer, and what that means is that I have these little cool shortcut tools that are a Craft and Cut function. So if you don't have that function, you can rotate it a different way. Now that kind of goes over the text a little bit, but you know, I don't really mind it. So let's do something a little different so you can see it, and I'm okay with that. Let's click off, and if I like that, my final step is to save this. So first of all, I can use this shortcut, save. The same thing is found in the tool drawer called File, but I'm going to save this, and let's put Mylar Wine Tag. Now the type is a WAF, and that's your editable file. So for instance, if I didn't like the Mylar, or I decided I wanted to use a different font, I wouldn't have to start from scratch. I could simply click and change. So always save it as a WAF. And what's really cool is now I can't embroider a WAF. So if I choose this save icon again, it doesn't work. It's a safety factor. I like to call it the blonde factor because if you've seen me, you know that I'm blonde. So how do I save it to my embroidery file format? So now I can come under File, and then I can choose Save As. And now I have the same name, and I'm going to click on the drop down arrow, and notice it was already highlighted. It's kind of letting me know, hey, you need to change me. So I'm going to be embroidering on a luminaire, and I can use PES version 9, and I'll save it as a stitch file so I can embroider this out. Now, something else that's cool, just have a couple more minutes left before I have to get in the car and drive to the event. So let me show you this. Under the sequence window, all right, you can add notes. So if I wanted somebody to stitch this out for me, or I wasn't going to embroider it right now because, you know, life happens, I could add little notes to myself so I remember what products I wanted to use and what I wanted to do. So if I select sequence, and then color number 1, and then right click, I have this new feature called add note, and I'm going to add a note before, and I'm going to say hoop sticky, let's hoop embellish soft cutaway, because I'm going to burn this out with a heat craft tool from R&K. All right, embroider color 1 on stabilizer for the placement. Now you do have a certain amount of characters. I think I'm okay there. Now if I wanted to save this, and because I'm going to be using it again and again, I could save that note so I don't have to type it each time. But for right now, I'm going to click OK. And then when I do that, check it out. I've got this note here. And then after, let's close this. On color 2, I want to remind myself by adding a new note, and I'm going to insert before, and I'm going to say before color 2 center stitch and shape over placement line with applique fabric fused and 1 sheet of Mylar. And I'll know that M-Y-L-A-R. All right, doesn't have spell check here. That would be a nice addition. If they've met me, they know I need that. And so now I've got that there. And then on the Mylar trapping stitches, I am going to add a note. And I'm just going to say Mylar trapping stitches don't tear excess Mylar until after color 4. Perfect. All right. And now color 4 is here, and I'm going to right click and I'm going to add a note, and I'm going to add a note after this time. And I'm going to say after color 4, trim, stitch and shape. Oops. And Mylar, and the Mylar just tears away. All right, and then we'll say close to stitching line. Perfect. And there we go. And if I wanted to add back fabric like the pattern, if you guys own the CD, it tells you to add back fabric. You're going to read that as well. And this is going to be the beautiful stitches and then the text name. And then so after this, I am going to add a note, insert after, while it's still in the hoop, use R&K heat craft tool to burn away the excess. I should say melt away the excess stabilizer. Let's change that. That sounds better. To melt. Our Embellish Soft Cutaway is a premium nylon fiber, and it just melts away like a hot knife going through butter. Now, if I wanted to print this so I see all those notes, here's my print preview. And on this, I can click on settings, and I like to show thick crosshairs, and I would say Mylar Tag and I would have looked to see what that real name is. And then I would say, okay. And up here, you can print this, but up here, I can see there's 2 pages. And so when I go to the next page, look, you guys, here is all of those notes. So I would go ahead and print this. And here's a little bonus here for this lesson. I actually, oh, I don't have it. This is a new computer. There's a program called Primo PDF, and it's a free download, and this will save that to a PDF. So you could go ahead and do that. All right, and then I'm just going to copy that PES file onto my USB stick, embroider it, and have a lot of fun. So I hope this helps. Let me know. Let me see your samples. Until next time, happy embellishing.